Now joining us on Golf Talk Canada, a good friend of the show, Matt Bovee, to talk all things TaylorMade. And Matt, there's a ton of momentum right now with TaylorMade, right? With this new wedge we're going to get into, the PUDI Bomber, which I absolutely love, and the putting. I mean, there's a lot of great things happening with Team TaylorMade right now.
Yeah, it does seem like we're firing on all cylinders. So good to be back, Scully. I haven't seen you since the wedding, so congratulations.
Thank you.
I think that's certainly in order. And then a lot of exciting stuff coming this fall. I appreciate the mention about the bomber iron. That was a lot of fun. I see you got one in the background there, which is cool. But yeah, MG5 coming out this fall, and there's so many things to be excited about with this wedge. When you think about the upgrades that are in this forge construction, new groove, it's going to spin more, new grinds, new finishes. It's really just a matter of where do you want to start.
Well, let's get right into it. Yeah. So MG5, the newest wedge from TaylorMade. You mentioned it a little bit there, and I can tell you're excited, but what should the golfer be most excited about when they put their hands on this new wedge?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go get this thing out there and into players' hands. Our early testing with tour players has gone so well. And I think regular players are going to be excited about the same things, right? The fact that it's forged, this wedge feels incredible. We set out to really make the best feeling TaylorMade wedge we've ever created. And that's because feel is so important to a player's short game, right? You talk to any of the better players, they have great feel and they know what that shot's going to feel like before they hit it. That club's like an extension of their mind, of their hands. And to have the best feedback, you need to have the best feeling product. And to have the best feeling product, it needs to be forged. And that's such a huge part of MG5. On top of that, that new groove geometry, it's a little bit more aggressive. We're able to really, we have a new manufacturing process allowing us to control these tolerances at a tighter level, which means we can push and get more aggressive on the groove. That means more spin for players. There's going to be some upgraded consistency when you bring moisture into the equation, right? It's all about performance, but if we can deliver that performance consistently, that's even better. And then these new grinds, we wanted to really take a look at our grind offering and make sure we have the right grinds for players in the marketplace. So we have more mid-range bounce options than we've had in the past, which is where the majority of players live. So there's going to be some nice options there as well. And then a brand new finish matching our normal sort of chrome look. We have this gorgeous charcoal finish on the MG5 as well.
There's so many great factors and new tech in this product, but almost you could call it the ultimate compliment is there's a win on the PGA Tour already by a player in Chris Gotterup who isn't a tailor-made athlete. Is that sort of the ultimate compliment for a guy to put these wedges in the bag right away who isn't contractually obligated to and already have success?
I mean, yeah, it's a huge testament to the product's performance and the feel. Anytime you get any athletes in there, the non-contracted ones is always kind of like a nice little feather in the cap because they, play whatever they want. And to have a win before we even get into the launch of this is certainly something special. And that's part of what we did in terms of like you see the wedges behind me here in between two wedges. The MG Proto was part of our tour launch, but that's how we get feedback with these players. And the early success and the adoption rate was through the roof. We launched those at the Memorial. There's a handful of non-contracted athletes that were playing it, and then as we're getting, and of course our contracted athletes, notable Tommy Fleetwood, having a lot of success with the SB grind. That's a new grind for him this year. There's some changes we can get into the subtleties, of course, but continuing to pick up steam and then having it launched on tour this past week. Again, like the early adoption and the feedback has just been incredible.
So you mentioned some of the tech there a little early on, and let's take a deeper dive into some of it, including forged construction and wedges for the first time. How does this process work?
So we use a five-step forging process, and all of the MG wedges in the past have been cast predominantly. Almost all wedges from every major manufacturer are cast. Forged is a premium process, and really it allows us to create the best feeling product, or we believe the best feeling version of this wedge. You just have really good control of the actual metal. So for anyone who's not familiar with the process, it starts as like just what's called a billet. It's basically a rod of steel. You go through a series of heating that steel up, superheating it up and to temperatures well in excess. I'll keep it Canadian here, and over 1,000 degrees Celsius. And then you go through and you hit that a series of times. We do 5 times, and basically each time you work through that, it starts to look more and more and more like a wedge. And all of the little details and the consistency in the shaping is so much better when you forge the product. But that's only part of it because the other piece here is after we get through the forging process and make that feel as best we can, we machine not only the sole, which you see milled grind, obviously in the name, but the face, the grooves, the hosel, all of these things, because we want this part to be the best representation of what our expert designer has crafted, right? So every tailor-made design starts in the hands of an expert craftsman, and we wish he could grind for everybody, simply can't do it. And when you mass produce things, if you're going to use people that don't have that skill set, you get variation in that polishing by using a machining process to replicate that sole geometry, you're getting as close to having our expert craftsman Caesar grind that wedge for you. And I think it's just such a beautiful complement between the craftsmanship and the journey that our wedges take to become what's ultimately in the golfer's bag.
There's a lot of really cool information there too. And regardless of skill level, whether you're a touring professional or you're a weekend warrior, you like to spin the ball. You like to have control of how you spin the golf ball. And that's where we go right into the new groove geometry here. What are some of the benefits to this?
Yeah, I mean, all players love to see the ball rip back, right? You want to have that stopping power. And basically, so this new groove geometry allows our radii, like the edges of the groove and the vertical walls, well, not the vertical walls, but the walls of the groove to be closer to vertical. So a steeper angle and a sharper radius translates to a more aggressive groove that will help grab that ball and create more spin in MG5 than MG4. On top of the groove, there's also an updated spin tread technology on the face. That's where we use a laser milling process to really have it's a more fine texture. But the best way to think about this is like treads on your tires. Imagine if you were driving around and it was raining or there was, anything on the road and you didn't have treads on your tires. There would be no way for have that moisture leave, right? And you lose friction and you hydroplane and everything. Same deal with the wedge face. If moisture gets between the ball and the club face, what happens is the ball wants to slide up the face, just like your tires would lose traction. The ball loses traction with the face. We need to create a area for that water to really be displaced. And you don't need a lot of water for this for this to matter. Like just playing in the morning, when you get a little bit of dew on the grass, you're on the putting green, you can kind of see the line your ball makes. Like you're out there, you see a little bit of moisture on the ball in the fairway in the rough that dramatically changes performance. And this new groove in combination with the new spin tread allows us to retain more spin. So you're getting more spin, you're getting lower launch angles when that moisture is involved, which means more control. How do you have the best control in your wedge game? It's a controlled trajectory with maximizing spin. That's exactly what the MG5 new groove and spin tread geometry is designed to do.
Just all consistency in all conditions. And I understand already through testing, comparing to the previous model MG4, that the MG5 has some great improvements in this category, doesn't it?
Yeah, we are seeing more spin with MG5 than MG4. And when you get into those non-ideal conditions, a little bit of that moisture, you really start to see the RPMs pick up and all the things. But you need to retain that spin to have performance you can count on because you never know. You play in a morning tee time, afternoon tee time. We want to provide performance, but we want to provide it consistently. I think the tour players are a great example of this. They start out on Thursday, maybe they got an afternoon tee time. Nice is dry, the course is baked out, the winds come up. Flip it to Friday. What happens? They tee off first thing in the morning, right? Now they're dealing with moisture. They still need stopping power. They want to be able to hit their trajectories. They want to be able to spin the ball. And that's what our wedges are designed to do. So all the craftsmanship with the shaping and replicating that combined with the innovation that TaylorMade is known for, and you have MG5.
So you have shaping, you have innovation, and we have some new grinds that we have to speak about too. Do I have this right, Matt? Six grinds?
Six grinds if you're including the Tiger grind. Yep, some updates there. And then inside what I would call our core offering, you have an LB grind. That's going to be your lowest bounce. And then working towards the higher bounces, you have SC. Then you have the SB, which sits right in the middle, SX, which is a brand new grind for us, a little bit wider, and then HB. So depending where you want to dive in there, there's really a wedge. This is the important takeaway. There's a wedge for each player type off each turf condition. Because if you like, let's say you're a little bit shallower off firm conditions, you want something less bounce, like an LB. If you're playing off more like average conditions, you want something that sits in that S range, so SC, SB, or SX, and then it comes down to how much do you like manipulate the face? How creative do you get with your pitch shots, your chip shots? Because if you're somebody who likes a lot of versatility, SC is a fantastic option. You want great all-around performance. That's SB. That's going to be a nice four-way camber to it. And then this new SX grind, a little bit more sole width, but living in the mid bounce range means it's got great stability from a lot of different conditions. It's fantastic in the sand, but it has this unique trailing edge relief to it that allows you to really open up the face, get the versatility you want with some forgiveness. And then finally, HB, a good option for anybody that gets a little steeper or is playing in really soft conditions. So you can also relate that to divot size, but there's plenty of education out there. I definitely recommend talking to fitters and find out which grind is right for you.
And as we wrap here, we've spoken a ton about this great technology that's involved with MG5, but the product's also got to look good, obviously. And we've got a couple of really cool color options as well as different shaping here with MG5.
Yeah, so the shaping changes are going to be specific to the grind and the skew, but in general, there's a little bit more leading edge curvature to this so that when you open up that club face, what you're going to get is a little bit more confidence in the direction that wedge is pointing. It really just comes down to how it sets up for the player and the confidence that you need to be able to hit shots. And then that balances with a couple other traits in the playing position. Some subtle refinements to the sole geometries that we've had in the past, SX being that brand new one. And then you mentioned the different finishes here. So we have chrome, beautiful on the back, super clean design language in general. The MG5 logo is just like right in the middle, just proudly displayed, tour satin scratch everywhere. And we actually take the time to put a different finish on the face of the club so you don't get the sun reflecting back at your face. That's one of the pieces of feedback we get from tour players, better players. When you open up that wedge or you're playing a shot, it just you don't ever want that light reflected back at you. So there's a different scratch on the face to help prevent that from happening. And then, of course, you want something a little more stylish. This beautiful new charcoal MG5. It's not black, it's not nickel. It kind of lives in between. It's got this just awesome distressed look to it. It looks super premium. And again, it's just like a nice stylish exclamation point in the bag if that's the route you want to go.
The TaylorMade MG5 wedge, the latest and the greatest from TaylorMade. Matt, congratulations on this launch. Can't wait to try the product out. All the best here going forward and hope to see you soon.
Thanks, Scully. Always good being with you, man.